Good afternoon, and I'm using afternoon because it is late afternoon here in the UK. We're at a strange time of day, aren't we? I wouldn't usually be going live this time of day. However, the good Mr. JB is not streaming today, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to hop into that slot because it actually suits me because I've got some stuff I need to finish off later. And I thought, when in Rome, you're in Rome, so hop into it. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's Sunday, it's time for another live stream, and we've got some stuff to talk about tonight. We're first of all going to be taking a look at this when I find it. No, not that. We're going to take a quick look at this, and I do have a review coming on this later on, which is the Beta Pavo series. I think a number of people have got a review on this, and mine will be coming soon, but I want to just talk about something specific on this quad. We're going to talk a bit about the video I put out yesterday. Man, that's caused a little bit of a stir. But I also want to talk about, is DJI evil? Because off the back of that video, I really find interesting comments about the people that just automatically jump on and go, DJI is evil. They should not be trusted. And look, they're not evil. And whilst they are a company that absolutely deserve the criticism that they get at times, they're also not evil. They're not here to do anything bad, but what we should also not do is forgive them or at least allow bad behavior, but that stands for everyone else as well. We're also going to talk, what else have I put in the doc today? I can't remember what else I've put in the top of the stream. I'm going to have to click on the edit to have a look. Yes. I've borrowed JB's slot. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new Caddx Walksnail V2 VTX with Gyro. It's not new. Talking about companies doing stupid things, not new. Marketing nonsense. And as always, we're going to answer any questions you may have as well. We've got the chat up, and actually, let me do this. Is this going to work? Yes, I have a chat window working. So for anyone in the YouTube chat, hello. I hope you are safe and well. And I've also got my Discord chat open as well. For those who are on the Discord server, for the live chat, that is actually up and visible too, and we can see that on that side. Now, as always, we're going to try and cover the topics. As always on my streams, you are more than welcome to answer questions. I will try and answer them as soon as I can. A super chat is welcome, but it is not required for me to answer a question. But if you do want to make sure it gets seen, it might be a way of doing it, but I'm going to leave that there. Anyway, so what a 24 hours it's been. And look, the video I put out yesterday certainly has caused a bit of a stir. And that video is around DJI and the situation with OSD on iNav and ArdraPilot. And everything I've said in the video is absolutely correct, but I am going to criticize myself slightly that I didn't go into enough detail on the actual issue, because people have read what I've said about fonts. Well, just use Betaflight fonts. Right. It's not as simple as the font the text is in. This actually comes down to the available elements and characters as well. Now, just so everyone understands what the situation is again, just to make sure we cover it, DJI have a fixed font set in the O3 system. They have taken the standard Betaflight font set, and it wasn't you, Lon, it was a lot of other people. So they've taken the standard Betaflight font set, and just so you understand what that is, right? That is this here. So this is the glyphs, the font set for Betaflight, okay? So OSD glyphs. If we scroll down, there are a maximum of 255 in the Betaflight font set. But you can also see these are all of the icons, the logos, and the text that is related to it. And this is what DJI have implemented in O3. It's fine. It works absolutely fine for quads. However, this font set is quad-centric. It isn't designed for fixed wing, rover, boats, or any other type of aircraft, ground-based kit, or anything else. So whilst this has all of the basic data, what it doesn't have is some of the additional stuff that is available in iNav and ArduPilot. So, for instance, there's no page 2, which is available in iNav, but you also don't have all of the other characters beyond number 255. And if we scroll down here on the iNav font set, so let's just get down to 255. There we go. 254 is the last one. But iNavs keep going. You've got the iNav startup logo. You've got all of this additional stuff. Now, this isn't all absolutely necessary to be able to use your aircraft, but it is fonts and stuff that is related to features within those software. And this is where the issue is, because DJI doesn't support all of these. And it is not typical stuff. It's not stuff everyone will use. I'm not going to pretend it is. But it does mean that those flight stacks have a limited amount of functionality in DJI O3 because it can only use the fonts that are available in Betaflight, including the glyphs and everything else. Now, what's also interesting is if you just look in Betaflight, for instance, they actually jump from 160 to 255. And if we actually go in iNav in that, if you look, there's a lot between 160 and 255. And I haven't actually got a direct comparison list between the two. I haven't seen one out there. But if we go, look, to 155, so flight hours is 155. And then we go 160 onwards. And there is a lot of other stuff down here, you know, pitch symbols. And again, I'm not going to pretend it's stuff people are going to use on a daily basis. But what it absolutely is features and functionality that ArduPilot and iNav have, which you can't use with DJI O3. So that is the situation. It's not just pretty text. It's not about color fonts. It's not about the nice stuff we've seen the other people do. It's about being able to have the backup. Now, other systems allow users to upload the fonts file. So you can put the font file on the SD card and upload it into the system. And that is a great feature. And that's what we're asking DJI for. Now, in my video, I took a real black and white approach on this. And that approach is this. Look, if you're an iNav user or an ArduPilot user, don't support DJI. Because if you keep buying the products and using it in the compatibility mode, which gives you all of the Betaflight fonts and glyphs, you're not going to be sending a message. So my point was, don't buy it. Just don't do it. Don't support them. I never actually said no one should buy DJI FPV. I made it clear that if you're a Betaflight user, everything's pretty. Carry on. We all love it. It's great. It's not perfect. There are issues. We still have the low power behavior. We still have some real quirks around you can't select low power levels. That is insanity for commercial users. They cannot select 25 milliwatts forced when they want to be able to put it in a low power situation. And there are lots of other stuff on O3 that aren't perfect. No lenses available, things like that. But I never actually said no one should buy it. My point was, if you're an iNav or Betaflight user, just don't support it through the back door. Just move on to a product that does want your money, and that way DJI may actually listen. And people also have to understand there are ways of getting DJI to listen and do things. There is also another thing here that many people have missed in this. DJI have uploaded that Betaflight font set. Now, I don't know how old that is, and one of the guys on my Discord has said he thinks there's a few glyphs missing from the Betaflight one. But here's something really interesting as well. If Betaflight guys develop something new, it is only DJI who can also update it as well. There is no way anyone else can upload the fonts. So even Betaflight would be limited if they change something. It's not even just Betaflight is fine. Betaflight is fine as it is today. But if you look on HDZero, you've got the color OSD, which is fantastic. So look, this is about asking DJI to implement the OSD system the same way everyone else has, rather than what we had on the V1 system, which was this limited custom OSD, and then what we've now got on this system, which is an expanded custom OSD. But be under no illusion, it really still is a custom OSD. It's not full. It's limited by the font set DJI have chosen. And that's really my point on this. So, you know, if they don't want it, spend the money elsewhere. And people also have to understand, there are ways of getting DJI to listen at times. And sometimes you have to make a lot of noise. Now, there are many people out there who fly DJI every day. That's brilliant. It's really good. O3 is really good. It's on this. O3 is incredible. It's not perfect, and it's actually, again, I've said this on streams before, I don't believe it is the best FPV system today. It's not the best overall. It's the best image quality FPV system, best FPV system for penetration, best FPV system with regards to general range. Avatar can do very well, but you've got to really stack it with antennas. It's DJI overall has the best, but the best overall system today, I actually think, is Avatar. And the reason I say that is it's a master of none, but it has a lot of options. You know, multiple receiver options, multiple transmitter options, multiple camera options. That's what we want in FPV. And DJI are not giving that today. So that's the point with it, really. So we're going to have to see what happens. But my message still remains the same. Don't support them if they don't suit your needs. What's pointless is running around DJI forum, making posts and shouting and making polls. They won't listen, right? You may as well walk into the Apple bar, Genius bar, and ask him what the spec of the next iPhone is. That's what it's like putting a post on DJI forum or asking DJI customer services. You've got to get a message into DJI in a certain way, and that message is done in a certain way. And sometimes it takes someone like me to shake the cages of the doors. And it's not the first time I've done it, and maybe it might get a result. Let's wait and see. I believe JB is traveling. He said something because he wasn't on the news last week, and I think he's traveling as well. Unless he's live. If someone could tell me if he's live right now, I'm in trouble. I wouldn't want to step on JB's stream. And as I said, I'm borrowing his time. I'm borrowing his slot. I'm filling JB's slot. There you go. So that is the situation with the video I put out yesterday. And as I've said, it's more than fonts. It's about the wider availability of the OSD features. And there's some real cool stuff around the corner. The guys have got the color OSD on HDZero. We've got lots and lots of really good stuff around the corner, and it'd be great for DJI to support this. Now, this also leads me on to a couple of other things, which I'll talk about before we come on to the chat. There's been this talk of a price reduction on O3. If I just go on to that, you know, I've got the O3 air unit in this, the Pavo, and there's been talk of a price reduction coming. I've not seen anything yet. I've still not... I've not heard anything officially either. So I don't know how much truth there is to this O3 price drop. Although, pretty much all of the rumours we've had from DJI have been true so far. So we've had the A3 release. Very interesting product. Not for me. Bit disappointed it's still not a 1-inch sensor. But I'll be honest, if anyone saw Ken Dobo's videos on the night footage between it and the Mavic 3, I was blown away. If anyone has seen it, I don't know if you have, but if you haven't and you're interested in camera drones, Ken Dobo put out a comparison between the two, and the A3, I was astonished just how good it was with regards to its camera sensor capability. I still don't get this dual camera crap For me, it doesn't really make sense, but there's no question DJI seem to have developed a very nice product there. We now know there's an Action 4 around the corner. The FCC documentation is leaked for it. There doesn't appear to be anything particularly interesting there. I don't know what it's going to really bring to the table. DJI have never really been able to catch up with GoPro, and I don't know what an Action 4 is going to do. We're just going to have to see. Are they going to change form factor again? Who knows? They have a habit of doing this. But we have had the FCC leaks for it, which is interesting to see. You know, let me just find it a minute. I was sent a link to it. Here we go. If we go to... Let me just get... I need to get a pop-up blocker on this. So if we go to the desktop... We've got two pieces of equipment. We've got a new piece called DJI Video Receiver. We believe this is going to be a ground-based receiver without display for the DJI transmission. So if you know what DJI transmission is, it's the wireless video transmitter and receiver and display, but it doesn't have like a separate video receiver. We believe this is going to be that. But then you've also got the new Action 4. Lorna said same form factor but improved image quality. Yeah, it's just interesting to see if they're actually going to catch up to GoPro. They still haven't been able to do it, but here we've got the Action 4. And look, there isn't a lot under here we can really gather. We can look at the RF stuff. There's no SDR on board. It's all Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Probably has remote ID. That's about it, really. There's nothing great here we can understand. And really, that's it. 04 VTX for FPV, I think that's probably a while off. We need to understand... DJI, what will be interesting is about supply. So, what really remains to be seen is what's going to happen with that. And actually, I'll go up to the full screen for this because... let me just click on something to get something off my display. There we go. What's going on? Something just fell off then. There we go. The A3 has released with 04. We now know that 04 has a new chipset, which is like the S2 Plus is what it is. Or the S2, sorry, not the S2 Plus, the S2 instead of the S1. Now, I did talk about this in the video I put out the other day. What we know is it's going to mean DJI is able to save money. What we really don't understand is how much supply DJI have of the P1S one. And are they going to do another tape out of it? And if you don't know what the term tape out means, it means another manufacturing run of that chip. Technically, there should be no reason this new S2 chip could not just replace the P1 and S1 and perform exactly the same. It will have new functionality, but it's an SDR. So you got to understand is there's technically no reason DJI couldn't just replace the P1 and put in the S2. Because in 03, the P1 is largely only acting as a modem. They're wasting the rest of the chip, whereas they could create an upgraded version of 03, not ungraded, new version of 03 with the new chip, and it just performed the same. No changes. And that would actually allow DJI to reduce the cost. So here is an interesting question. Could these rumors of a price drop on 03 be related to them moving on to the S2 chipset? It is very, very possible. It doesn't mean, though, it doesn't have any new features. And if you just look, the Goggles 2 are a real good view of how much DJI can tweak their hardware. So, for instance, if you look at how many products the Goggles 2 now support, it transcends forward and back. So, it really is going to be interesting to see what DJI do with this new chipset. And it's going to then depend on what the supply left is of the P1 and S1. If they don't have to, they are not going to do a tape out of the P1s and S1s. There's just going to be no reason to do so. However, here's with the problem is, to replace the P1 in, say, the Mavic 3, they'd have to remanufacture the boards. That costs money. So all of the products that use the old chipset will either have to be revisioned to use the new chipset and still have the same features, or they have enough supply to do it. And that's what we don't understand. Now, what could O4 as a product bring? Well, the O4 system could have higher bandwidth. Okay? So today, oh, thank you, Ken. I'll come on to the super chat in a minute. Today, the S1 can only do 20 megahertz, which is 25 megabits a second. And the P1 can only do 40 megahertz bandwidth, 50 megabits a second. We believe the S2 can go higher. So you could now see a 70 megabits mode in DJI FPV. So what would that mean? Well, what that could mean is 2.7 or 4K live feed. So the question is, do we really want a 2.7 or 4K live feed in FPV? Do we even need it? That's the question. Now, they are not using that bandwidth in the A3. They're only still going up to 40 megahertz in the A3. And actually, they're not even getting near that. But DJI are not pushing the bandwidth heavy on those models. But they are now pushing 60 frames a second. So, could this additional bandwidth allow DJI to do something else? Could we see new 150 hertz goggles? 150 frames, 200 frames a second. We just don't know. You know, DJI have some limitations on how low they can make the latency simply because of the frame rate, refresh rate on the link. So what O3 could bring is higher bandwidth, which then allows higher resolution or higher frame rates. Then the second element of what the S2 looks like it can do is bring in potentially more RF lanes, which means instead of 2 antennas, you can have 4, but they can have 4 on the P1 today. They're just not doing it. But you could have goggles then with 6 antennas because there's additional lanes, which helps with reception. So could we see more around that side? The algorithm itself could get a boost with additional hardware, but O3 has already got that hardware. What would actually be really key here, and this is the real important bit, is actually if DJI could combine the the S2 with the E3T, which is the video processor, and create a new single monster chipset, and that would allow them to make the whole thing smaller. Not necessarily improve performance, but the whole thing smaller. And that's where it gets interesting. Overall in itself, I wouldn't expect O4 to be anything dramatic. That's for sure. I just want to say a massive thank you to Mr. Mike Bundy, first of all, for the $5 $4.99 super chat. Hey, hiya, decent developers, and hiya, Mike. How are you? And a massive thank you to Mr. Ken Heron for the $10 super chat. Hats off for making chipset chat interesting. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not sure I make it interesting, but that's what we could see. I actually would love to give the A3 a try. I think it's a very interesting product. It's not that much smaller than the Mavic 3, though, from what I've seen. Madstech, wouldn't it be much more reasonable idea to use much weaker, less compression instead of upping the bitrate? Potentially, but less compression doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better penetration. You got to take into account there's a very fine balance here. Question is, are the goggles able to support 2.7 or 4K? Not the goggles 2. 1080p displays. I don't think we'll see much change on 03 soon. Hey, Catman, how are you? O4 brings another frequency. Yeah, but they're already using that other frequency in 03. 5.1, okay, 5.2 gigahertz, 5.195. Yeah, officially, 04 brings that frequency. But remember, DJI are already using that in SiYi on the 03 system. The 03 system already uses 5.2 gigs. They've just not published it. But yes, it brings 5.2 gigs officially. But they can do that on 03. And they are doing that on 03. They're already doing it. Only in SiYi mode, though. But you can't bring it for FCC. But 5.1 does complicate with 5.2. I call it 5.1, 5.195. Yeah, and it's on 03 as well, as I've already shown. This will go to 5.2 gigahertz. Already done it. I've showed it already in SiYi mode. DJI have yet to responded to my messages on it. Yet it happens. Only in SiYi mode and only after the Christmas firmware update to bring support for the digital FPV original ear units. So it's very line in the sand. I showed it in the video a while back. It's black and white. It wasn't on the original release firmware. They added it on the Christmas release for adding support for the FPV system. And in SiYi mode, only SiYi mode I've seen it. I'm not saying it won't do it in FCC, but I've only seen it in SiYi. It will absolutely go to 5.1 gigahertz. I'm trying to think if I have a video on this already. I will find it to show you. Here we go. Desktop. So here's the video here. You can see DJI 03, 5.1 gigahertz. Originally, I thought it was a bug, but we now know
I promised myself.
It's a feature simply because they're doing it on the other stuff. So I show it. Let me just find the right. There we go. So what you'll see in a moment. Let me just put this full screen. So currently we're at 5.794 gigs. And what we're about to see in a minute is it actually shift over to 5.1 gigs. Picture-in-picture in goggles. That would be an interesting feature. Additional bandwidth would allow that. We'll just wait for this to kick over. Let me just get to the point in the video. There you go. So what you're about to see is it shift. There you go. So 5.7 gigs is gone. So look, what you've got here is the video carrier and telemetry carriers. Okay. On 03. And now they vanished. And what you'll then see. Actually, sorry, wait a minute. And then there you go. We're down at, if you look at the top corner there, don't know how easy you guys can see the frequency. We're at 5.190, 5.190, and the video carrier is down there. So 03 is doing it today, but only in SiYi mode. Any EU store to buy the Nazgul Evoke F503 DC, trying to avoid customs. iFlight have their own European store you can order it from. iFlight have a European store. You can go to this website, the iFlight Europe, iflight-rc.eu, and you can order direct from them there. So you can get it from iFlight. You know what, Lon? I have always said that. Lon has just said, I want an external camera on goggles that can be switched on. 100%. I want a fisheye camera on the front that I can have picture-in-picture in the top corner at all times. I have said this for years, yet no one does it. No one does it. Using a phone or the new RC2 controller, any difference in latency? There will be a little bit, GMI, but it'll be minimal. DJI's latency on those links are like 110 milliseconds roughly anyway. Right. Now we're going to talk is DJI evil at the end. The next thing, though, I want to talk about is Walksnail. Because this week, Walksnail put out this post. And this post says, new version comes with gyro. Avatar HD Kit version 2, 8GB, supports gyro flow. Our Walksnail Avatar HD version 2 8GB version update. Our 8GB edition supports gyro flow now. Let you capture smooth and stable footage with ease. Furthermore, don't forget the Avatar HD Kit version 2 has these exciting features. So Cadex have pushed this out there as the Avatar HD system version 2 VTX 8GB now supports gyro. Now, let's clear up some things here because this is misleading. The 8GB VTX has always supported gyro. The original VTX supports gyro because the gyro is in the camera. What they're actually saying is you can now buy the version 2 8GB VTX with the cameras with the built-in gyro. Nothing has actually changed other than they're now selling the 8GB kit with the gyro camera, not that the VTX supports the camera. If we just jump back over to the desktop, I confirmed this with Cadex at release. So when we had the new version 2, we had the original camera, which they upgraded, the version 2 camera, the version 2 camera with gyro, and then the Pro camera with gyro. All VTXs will support those cameras, including the original VTX. You can put any of the Avatar cameras on any of the VTXs, and you will get the full support, including gyro flow support. All they've actually done now is said they're shipping this VTX with the gyro flow camera, but the way they're talking about it is it sounds like it's a new VTX, and this has caused some confusion for people who are looking to buy it. It's a real weird way. I believe they sold the newer standard cam, but not the gyro cam. If we go to Cadex, and the problem is we can't look at it historically. Version 2 kit. And look, they're showing it here with gyro flow, So what it now looks like is they're not selling the non-gyro flow camera. That's what the crux of this is. Just, they were selling the non-gyro flow, and now they're not. And that's all that's changed here. But the way they've worded this is just shocking. It really, really is. If we just scroll through. So if we look at Avatar camera version 2 with gyro flow. So they must have been shipping the original camera. I'm guessing they're running out of stock on the original camera and they're no longer going to bother shipping it. That's what I'm going to guess. So there is no new VTX. It is just a new kit that includes the gyro flow camera as standard. That's the situation. Bit confusing, though, to say the least. Right, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. I'm just going to take a swig of a drink. I didn't have a cup of tea ready today. Bundy's asked, RC Pro Mavic Air 3. Nope. Anyone torn it down yet? I haven't seen teardown images. I have been looking for them. Hang on, Gary says it's not 23. No, I've gone early today, Gax. I'm actually traveling this week, but also JB isn't on, so I thought I'd go live early and borrow his slot. We'll come back at the normal time next week, I promise. If you guys got any questions, please do put them into the chat. We do have the Discord screen up as well. I've kept on top of Discord today. How can I set up a front and back camera view on an RC car using the Walksnail setup? The only way you will be able to do that is with two VTXs. There's no camera switching in any of the digital FPV systems. So the only way you could do it is two VTXs on two separate channels, I'm afraid. That's all you can do. You just have to double up and put one on channel 1 and one on channel 7 or channel 8, something like that. It's the only way of doing it. Do you know anyone who has done O3 with Shendone script for real estate FPV? Does the frame support? I don't know the answer to that one, I'm afraid. Henson. Any chance on getting a third RFTX mod video? I could really use it now. I'll try and do something next week. I'm on holiday next week, so I'm going to try and do something then. I'd use a picture-in-picture with a second camera to watch my back so I don't get robbed. Yeah, I'd absolutely love these goggles, FPV goggles, to have 360 imaging all the way around. It's just a no-brainer. I would love them to have 360 imaging with software that is able to detect movement or people and then overlay that image on the display when something's detected, if you wanted to. A physical switch to change video inputs. There's no easy way to do it. There's just no easy way to do it. On which points does Walksnail need to be improved to be uncomparable to the Vista kit? Today, Avatar is better than the original Air unit and Vista, but not as good as O3. There's nothing they really need to do to get up to the Vista kit. Avatar is better. The image quality is better. The compression is a bit different to DJI, but you fly the V1 system and you do forget how bad the compression was. It's not perfect. Avatar isn't as nice in the way it compresses, but overall it's as good. They are definitely a step ahead of the Vista, but not as good as O3. The image quality is better. The system is very good. Avatar today is very, very good. And there's new stuff around the corner. I'm not going to say any more than that because I'll get myself into trouble. But yeah, Cadex are listening to the community. Love or hate them, they're listening to the community. Now, their marketing at times has a lot to be desired. Some of the things they do are often done because someone else has it. Spec numbers, things like that. But overall, we're going to have to see. O3 clearance sale coming soon. I'm not sure. I see people keep saying it. I've seen no evidence. Do I believe DJI might do a price drop? Yes. That I can see happening. That is not at all outside the norm of DJI. But I've seen nothing to suggest they're replacing it. Nothing to suggest they're replacing it. And bearing in mind, I talk to a lot of people who generally know something is coming months before even the beta testers have had it. And there's nothing. That doesn't mean there won't be, but there's nothing. The A3, I think, is an inch. I think, look, it's filling a gap. The A3 absolutely fills a gap. Okay. Now, the next thing I just want to talk about very quickly is this thing, because I will have a review on this coming when I actually have some dry weather to finish it. I've also been trying to review the camera butter ND filters. I haven't been able to do it because it's been chucking with rain continuously. But this is the Pavo. There's a number of reviews on this out there, and I'll just give you mine overall when it's finished. But the one point I want to make on this is you do have to be very careful with the build of this quad, because it is one of the smallest O3 quads out there, and it's not only available as a bind and fly, you can get it as a kit as well in the frame kits, and I've got some frame kits of it here. But overall, it is a very interesting quad. I'm not quite sure about the way they've done the Express ELRS antenna. I would have preferred a proper antenna on that than just a bit of enamel wire. But overall, it is very cool to see a proper carbon mini quad with O3 on board. And actually, B2FPV have done quite a nice job on this. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting indeed. It flies okay. It flies all right. It's not the smallest quad in the world, but it's a good piece of kit. Now, I will have a review on it coming. 2S batteries, 450 milliamp hour. I've only flown it twice because I had actually a build problem with it. I made a slight mistake on the build and I was getting vibration on the footage, which I've now fixed. It was an error actually, not on the build. I built it, took it apart to do something, and I pulled an isolator out where there should have been one. It got slipped through the hole, and I was getting really bad jello. I know Albert Kim was getting really bad jello on his as well, but I think he's fixed it, and hopefully I've fixed that on mine now. It is on isolators, so when you look on the overhead, the O3 section here is isolated. I haven't over tightened them. Hopefully that's going to offer enough vibration isolation from the main frame, but you could soft mount the camera on this as well. But that's something I'm probably going to look at in the future, but there will be a review coming on that one as soon as I'm able to get the weather to fix it. Kerry Miller, hello, can anyone answer my question? Let me just try and find your question. My goggles too are foggy until the fan comes on. How do I get it to turn on when I plug in and not 5 minutes later? You can't. The only solution for goggles 2 is to get something like these. I do have a mod coming. But get yourself some no fog lens wipes. Okay? These type of things make a massive, massive difference on the goggles. They really, really do. Lens cleaning wipes, no fog, and they really do help. They really, really do help. So I would suggest get yourself some of them. Rain-X works too, apparently. The Pavo Pico FC looks like an F4 2S 12 amp. Not ideal, but the ELRS can be replaced with UFL connector for a proper one. Yeah, it is an F4, I think, off the top of my head. It's quite cheap for what it is, but you've got to bring your own O3 ear unit. But, you know, we've done a full build on it, so I'll be testing it as it comes to me. So I've built it then after that. And we'll be seeing what I think. You know, I'm not a Whoop expert. I think Nick has already done a video on this, so Nick will be the absolute expert. But I think it's an interesting product. Definitely the smallest and more interesting O3 aircraft. Definitely try the anti-fog lens wipes. That's all you can do. The only other thing you could do on goggles too is block, say, the left vent so it's dragging in less air and it'll overheat quicker and kick the fan in. That's about the only other thing you can do on goggles too. Just catching up on the chat. How much weight is the average GoPro gimbal good for? One would think handle 2 pounds. There must be a hack we can do. About the only thing you can do is block one of the vents. I am working on a slight mod for the goggles too to put an external fan on, but it's not going to be a simple mod. You know, the goggles too are compromised. Any HDZero news? No, there's not a lot I can think of. We've got the new Race Version 3 VTX, which is quite good. I've been testing the Wi-Fi mode on the HDZero, and I will have a video coming about that. But overall, things are very slow in that world right now. The lens wipes, though, Kerry, you may find make a massive difference. But yeah, on HDZero, it's not moving forward. Ryan dropped a teaser for a small freestyle VTX. I am aware there's something in... I haven't seen it. Let me have a look. I've heard that there's one coming. Carl had shared it elsewhere as well, I believe, hadn't he? Let me just find videos. I don't know what is it. Is that the one 13 days ago? I don't know. I haven't seen. Ah, it was on Discord, was it? Okay, yeah. No, I haven't seen. I didn't see. Yeah, I look. Here's something really simple. If I was making, I've said this on this channel before. If I was making a product today to compete with DJI and others, if you look at frames, there is only one manufacturer that frame manufacturers have accommodated. And what I mean by that is designed frames specifically for it. That is DJI. Love it or hate it, DJI has influenced the frame market more than anyone else, period. You could argue that DJI have influenced the FPV frame market more than anything. Improved design, anything. And if I was making a product, I would have it that it would conform to whatever they're doing because everyone is doing that. The Avatar HD VTX, the Freestyle, it's a weird shape. Those big flat VTXs. Look, I've got the Avatar one here. I haven't got the HDZero. That's actually in a frame behind me. I don't have a spare HDZero freestyle. I have plenty of others. I've only got one freestyle. But if you look at these VTXs, right, they are a dull shape. They really don't suit any frame this size of VTX. You can squeeze it in, but it's not ideal. Double stack hasn't always been ideal, but at least with a double stack, it keeps stuff in a little bit safe. Overall, I think all of this size of VTX, it's just not ideal, and I would be trying to get it to look and feel like DJI. One W1LE FPV said I'm waiting for 540-60. Yeah, 540-90 looks real nice. Vista Perfection, close to. An 03 is like 1 millimeter different than the Vista. 1 millimeter. That's all there is in it. It looks bigger because it's a square box. It looks bigger because it's a square box, but 03 is 1 millimeter difference. So, yeah, there is talk of this double stack. I haven't got it. I didn't know Ryan had put... What did he put? Did he put images? Has he put images? I'll go find them. Someone's got a link. Put them... If anyone on my Discord's got a link to it, put it in the live chat section. Was it... Let me have a look. Let me have a look. I don't know, did he share images or did he just share something new is coming? I have to search now. I can't even find Ryan. Why can't I find Ryan? Has anyone put anything on my Discord? No, there isn't. HDZero Discord. I don't know where it was put. So that's going to be the hard part. Why can't I find Ryan? So Ryan's leaking. I'm trying to just find what was said. Check the live chat. Oh, there we go. Ah, it was an image. Right, okay. Ah, okay. Right, okay. So that's there. That's what was shared. So it's going to fit in there, apparently, which is cool. That's cool news. We like that. That's good news. So if that's the case, that's real good news. Yeah, look, HDZero is absolutely moving forward. There are frustrations at times, and look, the problem is there are still things. Look, I made a review of those goggles when. Let me just look at this. I just want to see when I did the review. 6 months ago. Okay. So it's here. 6 months ago. Nothing comes close. And it's this, right? And actually, I put that back that way. And in that video, I spoke about the upcoming 1080p mode, which is going to be really nice for those goggles. 1080p displays. Yes, it's 30 frames a second. There's a lot of people who will be more than happy with that in the fixed wing community, in other communities. We are 6 months later, and we still don't have it. We had the 540-90, which is there, and the 540-60, which isn't. There is a point where people start getting fed up. If that's out, I've missed it. Is it in public firmware? Because if that's in public firmware and working, I've missed it. If it's in public firmware, it's public, then I've missed that. Is it in beta or is it official release? Let me just go to the downloads page. I might have missed it. Genuinely, I may have missed it. So the last firmware is the 26th of June. Let me just have a look. Support for 1080p 30, which was in April. There you go. I missed it. Yeah, it's unofficial. Yeah. January 13th of the 4th, 2023. Support for 1080p 30. I missed it. And this has been the problem. It's been so long since updates and bits, and it's been on and off and on and off. Yeah, it's definitely unofficial. It says here it's 1080p 30 revision 13. Yeah, January, February, March, April time. Yeah. There we go. Then it's time to have a look at it. But there are things, so ignore that. There are things that we are still waiting for. There are things that remain unfixed. There are things, and there's a point where it's really hard. It's hard to promote something when, and you're talking about it and you love it. I think the goggles are fantastic. When we've had this constant moving around, everything needs to stabilize. That is really good. So that is really, really good. I don't know how I missed 1080p 30. I must have just missed that one. There was so much going on with the analog support. It's probably got drowned out in that period. And I do wonder how many people even know that the 1080p 30 mode is there. I thought it was, because I remember it being there, then taken away because it wasn't working properly, but I didn't realize it was there. No, you have to change the lens on the camera, correct. I was down the pub. Looking at the release notes, it was around the time of the analog stuff. So that's something we need to look at. HDZero 1080p. But yeah, the news on it, it's been hard when, we had all of the analog stuff, which was back and forth, and a couple of other stuff. The new race version 3 is fantastic. It's really great to see. Hopefully, we're now going to see something new coming, which will help with adoption as well. Proper 1080p 30 and it would be good to see like 1080p 30 cameras, because there are people who want that as well, which is good to see. And this is this thing where you get this constant messing, you sort of lose track of where something is. And that's the thing with it. But no, it's good to see. Good to see 1080p 30s there. Hopefully, if there's a new VTX come in, that will help push things forward as well. That will definitely help push things forward. 540/60, yeah. Just catching up on the chat a second. If you've got any questions, please do put them in there and I will try and answer them as soon as I can. Just catching down. Go 5S, or at least try and force it. Go 5S. 5S is a weird voltage. I stay 4 or 6. 4 or 6. There's no point trying anything else. I personally don't see... If you're going 5, you may as well go 6. On 4S motors, 100%. Just reading back, make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay. Now, there are a couple of things. Next week, I'm going to be starting the proper review of the Bambu Lab P1S. I've got a video coming out about TPU prints on that as well. Now, something interesting for those who do some 3D printing, we are possibly, and it's not confirmed, but we're possibly going to be doing a Voron 2.4 build on the channel. Now, for those who don't know what a Voron 2.4 is, it is a open source community 3D printer. It is probably the most well-known of all of the open sources. Let me just... Not Voltron, Voron. My phone has put in a... Voron, not Voron. I keep saying Voron. I keep saying Voron. Voron. We're going to be doing a Voron 2.4. Okay, so for those who don't know what a Voron is, it's a community-based open source 3D printer, which is forever expandable. Forever expandable. And we're going to be taking a look at hopefully a 2.4. Yeah, it's most well known, but this is probably the most community driven. This now is the term I'll use. The most the i3 is the most cloned. That's for sure. But you get what? But I get you. Yeah, it's the Ender 3 is the most well known, but this is the most community driven for features, capabilities. You know, if you look at what the i3 has been copied, and other than the odd sensor change, pinder change, other stuff, it's not that different. The Voron is a very, very different animal. And I'm hoping we're going to be doing a build on the channel. And it'll be a big one, but it is something we're going to cover. For those who haven't seen it, they are quite some printers, to say the least. Not cheap. And look, I'll be honest, for the price of one of these, you can probably get 2 P1Ss. I'm not going to pretend you can't. But it is a hell of a piece of kit. And we will be talking about that in the future. Now, my P1S is over there. They're not in the corner today because they've been moved. I've had to move my printers around. I can see the P1S is there and the X1 Carbon. I've been doing like-by-like tests. I have to say now, the P1S is a phenomenal printer. No other words to use than a phenomenal out-the-box printer. In many ways, better than the X1 simply because of the price difference. And what is amazing is just ABS, out-the-box, sorted. I'll probably buy a P1S. TPU is fine. I don't know what people are saying TPU sorted. TPU prints fine. I have a video coming on how to print TPU. There's nothing wrong with the TPU. I printed TPU today on those printers. Here's 3 pieces directly from that printer. Where's the other one? I've lost one. Oh, there it is. Now, the only marks on this is because of the TPU I'm using is old. This is wet as hell because I couldn't be bothered to dry it. That's a GoPro bracket I printed today. All this is from the bobbling. I don't know. There's nothing. The standard profile isn't great. I have a separate profile. This is a Benchy printed in TPU. Just to prove that's a Benchy in TPU, I'm going to bend it for you. Just to show, I'm going to crush the Benchy down. I'm using Bambu Studio. But that's a TPU Benchy. And that's a GoPro mount there. It's fine. anything you see on this is simply just the older spool of TPU I was using. You can see there that there's some bobbling. It's just the moisture blurting out. That's all that is. That's an Action 2 bracket that I printed. It's fine. There's no issues with TPU. The standard profile isn't great. Let me actually go back to that one. The standard profile isn't perfect, but I do have a printer, a profile that works really well. Yeah, the TPU just works out the box. There's really... It's no great problems with these printers. TPU just works. You can't put it in the AMS, that's for sure. You can only put... I haven't watched JB's review of the printer. I didn't see it. I don't even know what problems he had with TPU. Does anyone know what the problem was he had with it? AH4's just said, I print TPU at 100 millimeters a second, 0.6 nozzle, cubic. Perfect every time. Yeah. Stringing. You'll always get a bit of stringing with TPU. If you're going to complain about stringing on TPU, strings a little bit. Look, there's some stringing on this because it's a little bit wet. Look, there's a little bit of stringing on that. There's a tiny bit of stringing on this. A tiny amount. If you see it in there. Tiny amount. Oh, he had a lot, did he? I haven't tried the Bambu TPU filament. I actually have a spool of it. I haven't tried their own. Printer's fine. It might need an old tweak here and there. The profile I got is better. Are caps necessary for 4S builds? I will always fit a cap on every build. But, yeah, the P1S is just phenomenal. Bambu TPU. That's interesting. I use Sane Smart. I haven't tried their one. The printer is just phenomenal. For the money, it's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Using their TPU, I would expect it to work. I'll break up. What color have I got? Let me have a look. I got black. I'll have to open their one. I haven't actually done it yet. I have my own profile for TPU, which this was done in. If he had a lot of stringing, did he? Let's have a look. We'll actually look at that in a second. But yes, so the Bambu video will probably be in the next week or two. Honestly, the P1S, phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Out the box. Just works. Do it live. Yeah, we could print. How long would it take to print something? Let me just... If we open Slicer... Bambu Studio. So if we open Bambu Studio, what could I print that's quick? I'm trying to think what I could print that wouldn't take long. That bracket was like an hour, so that'll be a bit too long to do. GoPro, something like that. Those special toys you use on the weekend. Let me think. We want something like a GoPro mount. Is what we want in it. If we go to AOS RC, and the only reason I go to Chris Ross's AOS RC because Chris publishes all of his his extras for his quads. So I always go to Chris's to try and find something. So, I'm just trying to remember where he hides it all. Let's just find something. 3D prints. There we go. One thing of yours. Chris puts it all up here, so it's always quite easy to find. So, what should we look at? That's a GoPro mount. That'll be all right, won't it? I'll do a quick test. Right, 2 seconds. Toroidal prop in TPU. 2 seconds. Oh. Let me just move my monitor back. Ooh, too far. Overhead. So we have here. Actually, let's go to this one. We have here a brand new sealed box. I haven't even opened it. Actually, let me just tell the printer to heat up to take out the old filament. I'm just unloading the Sane Smart now. So this is sealed. The only thing I'm not going to have done is dried it. So Bambu Lab TPU 95. Right, let's break him open. Yes, some STL files are just bad. I agree with that. Okay, so what we'll do, let me just go and put this on the printer. 2 seconds. I will be back. Right, it's just cut the old filament. Let me just swap the spool. So there is the Sane Smart. That's what I've taken off. I'm just going to now put the bamboo on, snip it and feed it through. Going in. Right, so gonna click load. Just waiting for it to feed. Give me a second. So just need to stand you while I. There we go. There we go. Sorted. So it's taking in the bamboo filament now. So it's taking in the bamboo filament now. So that's my same. And look, this spool is old. So what we will do. I wonder if his bed had glue stick. Now I'm using the P1S with the new standard print bed. So let's open Bambu Studio. So we're gonna go P1S textured PI plate. So we'll stick with that. We'll go to downloads. We're gonna want this GoPro mount. So extract files here. And then we're going to drag that onto the build plate. So there we go. Next, what we're going to need to do, because I'm using this without the AMS, so there is a bit of a quirk you need to do to this. It's a bit of a pain in the bum, to be honest. But what we're going to do is go into the device. Please observe the nozzle. The filament is extruded. Confirmed. Let me just check. Just feeding it in 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Done. Sorted. Okay, sorry, I just had to check that it had fit the filament in. Okay, so we're going to need to change the external spool to TPU. So we're going to need to change it to Bambu TPU. Bambu TPU 95. There we go. So I'm just going to select. So the external spool over here is set to Bambu Lab TPU 95. The AMS is plugged in, but it's disconnected from the tube because we're on the external. So what we're going to do then is change this fourth one to Bambu TPU. Bambu TPU 95A. And we're going to set that as the filament we use. Now, here's something interesting. If someone had the AMS and didn't fully understand the quirks of how it behaves, they may have got themselves into trouble, because the way this works, and it is a bit confusing. Okay, so you've got the AMS with the filaments. You cannot put the TPU in the AMS, okay? You have to put it on the external spool, which is here. However, when you go into up here, it will not show you that external spool. So if I resync, you can see we've got the PLA Basic, the ABS, and the Bambu ABS, which I've got in there. Okay, but you're seeing the TPU isn't showing because it's on the external spool. So the way you need to actually do this is tell it you're going to print in Bambu Lab TPU or generic TPU, whichever one you choose, and then tell it not to use the AMS. So the first thing I'm going to do now is add in a fourth filament manually, and then we're going to set that to Bambu TPU 95. So we're just going to, where is it? Bambu TPU 95, which is number 4. And it's showing the color as yellow. I'm going to leave it as that a minute. The color's not important, just so I can see. We're then going to set the model to be TPU 95, which is yellow. So we've told it what we want it to do. Let's slice it. I'm not going to touch nothing. Oh, I tell you what I'm going to do. 1 second. Let me redo this. I'm going to change it to the standard profile. That TPU profile is my own one. Ignore that. I'm going to set standard 20mm. Now, this is the X1 profile, but it's the same. No, don't need a brim. That's it, as it is there. Look, sliced, standard 20mm profile, X1 carbon. And then I'm going to click print. But the real key here is this, okay? We need to disable the AMS because we're doing it off the external filament. So we need to disable the AMS, and now it will select it. But the real important thing is you have to have sliced it in TPU up here, because if you don't, it will not know what to print. It will print it in any of the other type of filaments, and that will give you problems. We then click send. It's a 35-minute print job, so it's on its way as we speak to the printer. And we'll have a look. There we go. And it's on its way to the printer now. And it says 35 minutes. If I turn on the camera. Not time-lapse, sorry. Video. The camera isn't great on the P1S or the P1P. It's the only complaint. If we select down here. There we go. You can see, look, this is the P1S camera. It's not remotely as good as the X1 Carbon. The X1's is phenomenal to look at. This is very staticky and everything. You cannot put TPU in the AMS because the AMS, with the AMS, the printer's a push and pull setup. So the Bambu Lab printers are direct drive. So the extruder will pull the filament through. But the AMS has 2 sets of motors which push the filament through. So you've got a motor at the front for each individual filament, and then there's a main motor underneath that pushes the filament down. The problem with that, with flexible filaments, will just chew up. They'll get gathered in the AMS. You have to run flexibles externally on these printers. You cannot do it in the AMS module. But the real quirk of this, and this is the bit people don't always get, and it isn't that intuitive, if I'm honest, is when using external filament, if you have the AMS connected, if you unplug it, all of this disappears. But if you have the AMS connected, you have to manually create a TPU or whatever your filament is and slice by that and then unselect the AMS at the end. And that's the key to it. That's the real key to it. So no mixed materials. No automatic mixed materials with TPU. You can do it manually, but you cannot do it as part of the printer. You can do it manually. You can swap and swap over. You can do it as you would on any other printer. But no, it's look, the AMS is really simple. It cannot push. I think I have a 5th slot set up. Yeah, you can add in like that. So like I've done there. So you've created a 5th there. If I had 4 filaments in, less than 10 minutes for that on a 0.6 nozzle. A 0.6 nozzle makes a big difference. It really does. Yeah, you can just set up a fifth slot for it. That's the easiest way of doing it. The real no abrasives and no flexibles on the AMS. Yeah, exactly. That's the simple term. The real thing to understand is you have to have had a filament there to slice it the same type as you are using in the printer. That's the key to this. And it would be easy to get this wrong. And it is confusing. A benchy. So it's just doing its calibration. Because it's not the X1, it's not going to take 48 minutes. Or the extra exactly 7 minutes that the X1 adds to the start. I don't know if you can hear it. It's now doing its vibrations. This is about the real downside to the P1S is the camera. It's not great. No, you can't do mixed material STLs and it takes from the AMS and then separate reel. No, there's no way to do that at this time because you've got to manually feed Lon the other reel in. It's good. Yes, it's good enough to see if the print fails. Absolutely. It's just, it's not up there with the X1. The X1 is perfect. The camera on the X1 is absolutely perfect. What you're giving up on the P1S is the camera and the touch screen more than anything. No, it isn't. It's not. It doesn't have the processing. Omar, it is potentially an LDO kit, yes. Yeah, I have reached out to LDO and it looks like it might happen. Yeah, the problem is with the AMS, Lon, is obviously it's permanently plumbed. So you can put wire adapters on, but there's no way for it to push the filament down, unfortunately. That's the complicated. You can upgrade... Can you upgrade the screen? No. So, the P1P and the P1S has a lower performance processor, not as good camera, no touchscreen. None of that from the X1 can go on the P1P or the P1S. It just doesn't have the same background performance. And that's why the camera isn't as good. It's fine. It does time lapses. It does video. It's just not as good as the X1. But what I can tell you is those features are worth £400 or $400. £300, $300. Yes, it is, Malton. I went in JB's slot. Moving on. Oh, so it's laying down now. So you guys can just, so you can see, that's what the camera is like on the P1S. And if I look on the app, I'll see if I can show you. The Bambu Handy app is brilliant. I'll be honest. So if I go to the camera isn't great on that. So if I just stop it on the computer, because I don't know what the effect would be of having it on 2. Overhead, if I just go on the app, you can see it there. Just let it kick in. It's the same on the app. It looks a bit better on the phone screen because it's a lower resolution. But you can then see what it's doing. The extra features on the P1 or the X1 are very nice. While we wait for the print to finish, Elden Ring. Please play some Elden Ring. So, yeah, I'm going to get back to the channel now, but I just thought I'd show you that. But it does look a little bit better on the phone. But, yeah, the app is great. The app is just fantastic. But, yeah, we can... Are we going to learn this in this time slot? You're going to learn today if the Bambu Lab P1 can print in TPU from Bambu Lab. That's what you are going to learn today, but, yeah. So, okay. Time to get on to the next subject, and the next subject is DJI evil. Let's go there before we finish this stream up. So, you've seen me put a video out the other day, and you know I was talking around how nasty DJI are and they don't listen. Look, but what I always find interesting is the feedback on a lot of the comments on the video. I had someone saying we should be grateful DJI is in the hobby. No, we shouldn't. Should never be grateful to a manufacturer, right? Let's be bluntly clear on something. DJI are trying to get your money. End of. That's it. They want your cash. We don't have to be grateful for them for that. That's nice and easy. However, is DJI evil? No. Overall, DJI does what DJI does. Most of what they do is lacking of sheer incompetence. It's mostly incompetence than it is malice. Never assume malice when you can blame it on incompetence. DJI's biggest problem is that they are so siloed, they generally don't know the other problems. So, for instance, when I've highlighted issues in the past, DJI did come to me and say, oh, look, how can we fix this? If you take the V2 bricking issue, I highlighted it and we managed to get it fixed. They came to me and said, oh, we didn't know. And they genuinely didn't know because they are siloed in HQ. DJI Forum, all of the external noise, it doesn't make it into the core of DJI at times. Now, are there people at DJI who want to do good? Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you look at the Ronin line, they do really good. And that's because Paul Pan, who's their product manager there, is a really great guy. I've known Paul a long time. And they run it more like a bit of a skunk works. And they're sort of not under the same effect as the rest of DJI, in my opinion. And Paul keeps his nose to the ground. Most people at DJI are not seeing the stuff outside China. And that's as a result of why things don't get sorted. Most of it is siloed behavior. Yes, there are issues. The battery bricking issues. They've done a lot wrong. But you also have to understand this mentality of the new product doesn't work with the old product because DJI didn't want it to. It's more that in China, product longevity just doesn't exist. Warranty largely doesn't exist in China. The whole mentality of age of products over there, it's like 6 months, it's over. And that's why we find it hard in the West. We expect, to buy something and 10 years later to be able to go and buy a new knob for it or a new part. And that's just not the Chinese technology mentality. Their tech industry moves so fast. DJI are actually really good. Their customer service today is better than it's probably ever been. But they don't operate the same way as we expect companies to do. And they are one of the most famous large Chinese companies who make products that are distributed under their own brand around the world. There are very few brands out of China that have gained the notoriety DJI have. Huawei is one of them. DJI. But if you think about it, most Huawei and DJI are about the two biggest out there. Everyone else is making stuff for someone else or selling it under multiple brands or just been bought. So it's not. Xiaomi is big, yeah. Another one, Xiaomi. There's a few, but it's one. Yeah, but the TikTok was bought. Remember that TikTok was bought. There's probably 5 brands in total from China who have really made their name as a Chinese company to rival any DJI rival any electronics company out there. The quality of their product, the service, the overall, they are up there with Sony, Samsung, anyone else in their respective worlds. They really are. And that is a rare, rare thing. So DJI isn't evil, but they're not perfect. We should not be grateful for them being in our industry. We should not let them get away with murder in the sense of if they're behaving badly or if they're doing silly stuff, then we need to tell them. And telling them off does work at times, trust me. However, it isn't fair to say they're evil. Everyone I have ever dealt with at DJI has always wanted to do the right thing. It doesn't mean they can, and it doesn't mean the system they're working in allows it, in the sense of the business procedures, the operating of the business. But at the end of the day, they are no worse than any other business out there. They are as good or bad as Facebook, Google, anyone else. They're learning. All of the Chinese companies are learning. They're definitely worse than some, but they're not as bad as others. Look, we wrote the book in the West on how to behave badly. We created that book. They got a long way to go before catching up to us. I just love to fly. Yeah, the O3 is crazy reliable. That's an interesting topic, actually. How reliable is the O3 system? The one thing we can now say, and we didn't really know this up front, is just the reliability on O3 is phenomenal. It really is. The goggles 2 and all of this stuff, we just don't really see too many problems. It's hard to kill one. About the only thing I do know that does kill an O3A unit is reverse voltage. Everything else, it tends to survive. We could struggle, such how we've all behaved badly. Look, but the whole China's bad, the West is good is nonsense. If you just look at Oppenheimer, what we almost did to the world, when you walk into, we could have ended it for not sure where we'd have gone down in history at that point. But, yeah, there's overall what you find. Has anyone seen an O3 Survivor swim? I have seen one. It doesn't like it that much, but it did survive. And look, everyone else in FPV has links to China. So if we're going to go down the China road, Avatar HD is Chinese. Arguably, and I'm going to upset someone now, arguably HDZero is Chinese. Carl, amazing bloke. HDZero as a business is registered in America. However, a lot of the back-end development is done in China. Carl is Chinese. That's absolutely fine. We don't care about that. But you could argue how much of HDZero is actually US-based. You could really argue it. And I don't mean to upset Carl or anyone else, but that's a fact. When you look at the back-end development, when you look at Divi Math, yeah, chipsets are Taiwan, but everything that's nothing to do. I don't care where the chipsets are manufactured. But what my point is this: Carl is a US citizen. Yeah, but there are many people are US citizens. That doesn't change anything. If you actually get to the crux of where is the product, overall home design, control, and everything, pretty much everything in FPV, pretty much every single item in FPV comes out of China. One way or another. So you can't worry about China. China's not the problem. The problem is, what do people want to do with it? Do the people behave? Do the people want to do the right thing? That's what counts. That's what counts. Kiss is made in Germany. Can you buy Kiss still? Kiss Ultra, I should say. Can you get one? I saw the price of the board the other day was $100. Do I have any thought on the Pavo Pico? Overall seems really good. I've got it here. Overall seems really good. I had some issues with vibration, but I had a screw loose. And we're waiting. Immersion RC and TBS are in Europe. TBS is not in Europe. Hong Kong's not in Europe, is it? But all of the TBS stuff is still made in China. Trappy even openly says that. Because he has trouble shipping it back and forth from the mainland, doesn't he? I know he had board issues, didn't he? Because he was bringing the boards in and they got held up in customs. So here's a real interesting question. What is the difference between a product that's made in China and designed in China? Because people get bent out of shape over this like hell. It's pretty cool. Yeah, the plastic ducks are quite flexible. I don't know. I thought everything up until now, perhaps they're going to switch it out, but everything up until now has been made in China. Money flowing into a hostile... Label a hostile country. Going to get political. Who's done the most hostility? This is a rabbit hole no one wants to go down because, guys, don't sit here in your glass houses thinking for 1 minute the UK, the US, and everyone else is the good guys. Just don't go there. Don't even go there. Again, we wrote the book. We wrote the book on this stuff. So it's nice and easy for everyone to sit here in our glass houses saying, yeah, we're the good guys. We always think you're the good guys. We always think we're the good guys. There's bad everywhere. And there's good everywhere. That's the thing to always balance. Anyway, out of that rabbit hole. We are, yeah, Long. Yeah, I think Long gets it. Yeah. I've bought a Pavo Pico with Crossfire, but it seems the antenna looks like it could be ELRS. I don't know if the antenna is the same on all of them. Mine is at the bottom, but it might still have the antenna, and it's got an external Crossfire receiver. I haven't got the other model, so I can't comment on that. You might. Does it have an extra receiver or something like that? They won't be integrating Crossfire onto the board, so it could still have the ELRS antenna underneath, which is that thing there. It could still have that. How are we doing on the print? Let's just have a look. We are 13 minutes to go, guys. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. I've lost my Discord. I closed it by accident, so let me just get Discord back open before... X, is any... Discord. I closed Discord by accident. I've got a thing open and I can't close. Ah, there we go. Yeah, the politics will drag us down a hole we'll never get out of. What we got to look, we're really lucky in FPV that actually something that's worth understanding today is FPV products are generally really, really good today. The quality is fairly decent now. Fairly decent. It's funny, we all love to hate DJI. That's the fact. But the reality is they still bring us some of the best systems. DJI's pricing is not high. If you understood what it costs to make a here's a question. Okay. Here's an interesting one, and this isn't aimed at HDZero, but look, Carl has been very vocal about things. Like, for instance, he sold the HDZero goggles direct so he could get the price where he wanted it to be for users. Otherwise, you'd have dealer margin on top, and it's there. People say DJI products are expensive. They're not. You got to understand what it costs to make this stuff. If anyone else made what DJI do, it would be close to twice the cost. That'd be camera drones. That'd be anything else. Everything costs money. And look, you know, HDZero has really struggled to get, you know, the margins down so users can be cheaper, can get into FPV cheaper. Carl wanted to do it as cheap as he could. That's really good. But we know the margin is really, really small. People complained about the margins on HDZero gear because it isn't. It's because it's Carl's charging lots of money. Even Carl's margin is really, really small. So people look at DJI stuff and say, you know, goggles are $600. They're cheap. They're expensive. Well, are they? What's the, you know, the optics module is probably $150 in the middle of it. The tooling, the plastics, it all costs a lot of money. And, you know, no one, I think, is really dear in this. Is O3 expensive? Yes. But it is basically a GoPro. Does HDZero do audio? No. I don't think so. AVI. There was talk of this ages ago, but I don't think it ever happened, did it? There was talk of how it could be done, but I don't think it ever came to anything. People are into running, spend more on shoes and spandex. Yeah, there's the truth. They're about $70 each just for the screens and the goggles, yeah. The O3 is basically a GoPro. From a computing point of view, the O3 is basically a GoPro. So you have to include that price in. It has all of the same functionality as a GoPro. It just misses the screen on the back. No, I know there was talk about audio ages ago with Carl, and I know he was thinking of a way, but I don't think it ever happened. Fat Shark is still kicking. That's a brand dying on its ass. Yeah, Fat Shark, are they still in existence? That's where we are, gents. On the print, 9 minutes, 39 of 92. So it's getting there. 74% printed. Yeah, there was something Carl was looking at ages ago, but this might be going back to the RC group days. Yeah, Fat Shark are over as a brand as far as I'm aware. It's funny, actually. This... Doing it better for less money. Yeah, this was an interesting thing, actually, a conversation that came up on my Discord the other day, and we were talking about Rotor Riot. Now, Rotor Riot have some deals on at the moment on some of their quads, on their builds, and it was just a conversation about they cannot have much margin in their drones. If you think about their products, right, on Rotor Riot, you know, they're ready to fly drones. Like, they got $100 off some of this stuff at the moment, okay? So, look, from 459, okay, from 414, the Moxie, the Vanny style, the Skyliner. So if we go on the Moxie, from 414, so if you want it with analog, you can get it for 420, okay? And if we say ELRS, 414. Now, by the time you price the components on this, and it's going to be what? At least an hour's labor for someone to put this together. How much are they really making on these drones? How many quads has Rotor Riot got to sell to stay in business? And I don't know. And look, love or hate, Rotor Riot, what you think? Being in FPV business has got to be really, really hard when you're looking at these margins. Because the margins here can't be very big. I don't know what motors they've gone on it. So they got the T-motor stack. So they got, look, a $62 stack. That's the flight controller, sorry. You know, what motors have they gone? What's the price of the motors? The drip, $30 each. Yes, they're getting everything at trade cost. But man, the margins in making FPV products have to be really, really low. And it's hard. And look, Rotor Riot makes some really nice gear. And I think some of their products are decent. But how they're able to stay in business, I just don't know. I just don't know how they can compete with the likes of iFlight and others. 30%. Okay, so let's say there's 30% markup. Right? That's $90. Okay. Let's just say there's a $90 markup on that drone. How many of them are they selling a week? Do we honestly think that many people are buying drones? FPV has got to be hard. Now, I haven't actually spoke about this yet, and I was... Yeah, 20% gone for warrants. Yeah. Rotor Riot did push out quite an interesting product recently, actually. 2 of them. And one of them is a customized Boxer radio. Now, today, this is the only place you can go to get a customized upgraded Boxer, because Radio Master only sell the standard Boxer at this moment in time. That standard Boxer only includes the plastic gimbals and doesn't have any of the extra bells and whistles. However, Rotor Riot are now doing the Rotor Riot Edition Boxer, which does come with the AGO1 Rotor Riot CNC gimbals. It comes with the LEDs installed, and it also has metal switches and buttons. And Rotor Riot are the only place you can get a blinged up Boxer at this time. Price-wise, it's $259, which isn't that much more than the original. It's quite reasonably well priced, if I'm honest. The original Boxer is what, 149, 130, 140, without the AGO1s, without the LED rings, and without the metal buttons. But yeah, this is a real nice version of this radio, and it's really great to see. It's the same overall radio, just with the extras on board. And hopefully we might see Radio Master release more blinged out versions of the boxers soon. But today, if you did want a blinged out boxer, Rotor Riot is about the only place to go to get one. If you go to Radio Master themselves, they do now actually sell the clear shell for the boxer separately. They originally sold the transparent version only as the radio, which is $159, but the standard boxer, the black, is what, $139? Yeah, $139. So you're paying like $110 for the blinged out version, and that's not bad, because the AGO ones are more than that. But Radio Master now also sell the boxer shells in transparent separately. They didn't do this before, but now for $19, you can actually get the boxer transparent shells yourself. And that is available basically now. Now, I have to say, I was really impressed with Radio Master this week. I ordered, for me, a new back shell for my boxer. And I'll explain to you the reason why I had to have a new back shell. My original shell, and it's in the bin. Have I got rid of it? I've got rid of it now. Let me just check. Is it here or is it gone? No, it's gone. No, I put it out this week. So, I had obviously a pre-release boxer. Sent to me by Radio Master for free. Okay? Let me just zoom out a little bit. Now, I installed the AGO ones, which are absolutely fine, and I installed the LED rings. So if I do that, you can see I've got the blue LEDs, which look absolutely fantastic. Now, something I didn't mention in my upgrade video was after I installed it, I started to notice my gimbals were catching in the corners. And I hadn't actually noticed this at the point of doing the upgrade because I hadn't flown it yet. But it was actually catching here and here. And the reason for that was the original shell didn't have these bumps here and that cut out on either side in there. When Radio Master designed it originally, the back was completely flat because they didn't test it for the test people with the additional extras. So what Radio Master actually did in the production version is you can see these humps here and here, and there's cutouts down there and down there, and that's what allows the gimbals to clear when using it with the LED rings. Now, it's only on, I think, the pre-release radios that had this. So I ordered a new back shell from Radio Master myself. I paid for it myself. It was $15. I think it was with the postage. It was $8 or $9. Genuinely, right? This shell arrived from China in under 10 days. And it was like $15 all in. It was something like 8 days in total from China to my house. Absolutely phenomenal service. New back shell installed, and it's all now fine. It won't affect people who buy the boxer because yours should have that. It was only the pre-released ones that had this issue. But if you did want to do the clear shell, you now can. You can actually order it from Radio Master direct. But as I have said, the only place you can get a tripped up one, you can't get it from Radio Master. They're only doing the basic one. You're going to have to go to Rotor Riot. But what I really would love is to be able to buy that metal button set. That metal button set, you got the metal control knobs, AGO ones, which are the Rotor Riot ones, and the metal buttons. I would love to get them for my radio. And I'm hoping the fact that we're seeing them on the Rotor Riot edition means that they're going to be coming soon. I don't believe it's the same buttons for the TX16, is it? It's not the same button set, I don't believe. There's a difference. But I think it looks phenomenal. Open image in a new tab. There it is. It's getting a bit closer. And again, if you want metal, AGO1s, and then it's got the white LEDs. So really, really good to see. So yeah, and I think I'd love even more if the writing was, yeah, if it was coloured in. But I think the only place you can get this is Rotor Riot. I don't think there is anywhere else you can get this at this time. Now, I've just had a message on my phone. And that message is print success. Should we go and get the print? I'm just going to zoom in the top camera. 2 seconds. Here's the build plate. Okay. So, I'm not going to take it off a minute. We're going to put it there. And there's the print. So, little bit of stringing. If I just go above, you guys can see there. Let me just refocus. Little bit of stringing on the TPU. But I didn't dry this, remember? This was a brand new spool I just opened now. So, where's it in focus? There you go. I'll remove it off the build plate now. Bending the build plate never works on TPU for me. This new build plate is phenomenal as well. It really is. So, there we go. There you go. Bambu TPU. That's whisking at worst. Yeah, exactly. You know, you can see it there. They recommended TPU glue on that. Yeah, it probably helps to get it off. I love the gold build plate. It's phenomenal. Yep, there you go. Stock settings. Absolutely brilliant. It's quite soft, that TPU. Wow. Their 95 is really... Oh, I didn't change the infill mine, did I? Is it possible to print TPU on a standard Ender 3? Yeah, slight increase in retraction. It'll be perfect. Yeah, exactly. I didn't change the infill, did I? So, yeah, it depends what extruder you've got on the Ender 3. So, if you've got a direct drive, yes. If you haven't, Bowden extruder, not designed for flexibles. It depends if it's a direct drive or not. Yeah, it might. I didn't change the infill. I forgot I left the infill at probably 15. So I would normally print it at probably 30 and it would be a bit harder. There. Yeah. Overall, it, yeah, just, and this is what I like about this printer. It just works. It just works, honestly. People think... Look, I do have some affiliate links for Bambu, but I thought very carefully about that before I did it. And I tell you why this. I know the person behind Bambu a little bit. I don't know him, but I've spoke to him before. And look, they develop products that just do this. When it works like this, you can't complain. It genuinely... This printer has blown me away. It has just blown me away. Out the box. I love my Mark 3S. But this is as good and it just worked. They'll still do, but you can't. Yeah, you can't get aggressive on the. Yeah, you can. I don't have a lot of experience with Bowden printers. I do have a little bit, and I avoided flexibles. But yeah, look at that. That's nice TPU. S1 is phenomenal. Yeah, S1's fine. Direct drive extruder, absolutely fine. But yeah, so bit soft. Needs a bit more infill. With a bit more infill, it'll harden up. It'll be fine. Can't complain at all on that. Really can't. It's come out better than the other one, actually. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Right, guys, before we wrap this one up, we've gone 2 hours. If you have any questions, put them in the live chat. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's donated on the Super Chats tonight. It really has been appreciated. Ken Heron and Mike Bundy, you guys are amazing. I really, really do appreciate the support. For those who don't know, I do have a Discord. So it is there. So there it is. There's my Discord server if you're interested in joining. I do also have a Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd like to support us via them, please do consider checking out the links in the description. It's only through the support of you guys I'm able to keep doing what we do here on the channel. In the next couple of weeks, there's a repair video coming up, which is like a half-an-hour one. Quite cool. Not everyone will like it, but it is coming. The final review of this thing will come when I stop having issues. And there will be some other reviews coming up, but I can't talk about them yet. But also, we're going to be going back to basics on a lot more of the other content as well. Whilst P1P settings for Bambu Studio, yes, I'm using the P1P. To be honest, I haven't updated the slicer yet because I'm still using the beta slicer. Actually, have they released the public slicer yet? That's something I need to check. Because I'm using the pre-release slicer. But look, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supported the channel. Please do consider checking out the links in the description. The Discord link is there as well. Stay safe. I'll be back to my normal time next week, not stealing JB's, I won't be filling JB's slot next week. I'll be back to my normal time. So please do make sure you are around then. Anyway, stay safe. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon.